is one of the most populated ranks in all of Valorant. It's been years since I was in gold, so I decided to go into a gold lobby to understand how they play and share what advice I have to help you guys rank up. And trust me, all these tips can help you no matter if you're Iron or Ascendant. And with the help of Tappin.gg, I was able to team up with the Radiant duo in my games. Now, before you guys jump to any conclusions, no RR was harmed during the making of this video. We did not smurf you in gold rank lobbies. Instead, I got 8 gold players to join a custom game and willingly get smurfed on to help me make this video. I want to give a shout out to everyone who joined. Thank you guys for being awesome. And big thank you to Tappin.gg for sponsoring this video. Tappin.gg is a teammate finding website that also provides high elo coaching and VOD reviewing services to help you guys improve your gameplay. Just go to their site and select Valorant. You can then choose to find a friend or high elo players to queue with. More importantly, you can use their Coach Elite and VOD reviewing services. Within minutes, you'll have access to a Radiant coach who can review your gameplay to give you valuable insights into your own playstyle and what you specifically need to do to rank up. If you're interested, then make sure to use my link in the description to get 50% off your first order. Now let's get back to the video. Now I'm not really going to talk about how you can improve your aim since I have a lot of other videos going over those topics. From my experience, a lot of gold players have decent enough aim to get out of their rank. If you have bad aim, then you need to consider getting a better setup, perfecting your crosshair placement, and spending hundreds of hours practicing. Now, we played one game where my duo and I were able to use any weapon, and 2 games where we went sheriff only. Regardless of who was on our team or what weapons we used, we were able to win pretty easily. Sure, we may have better aim, but that's not the only reason we would win. There are probably a lot of low elo players who have as good, if not better aim than many Ascendants or Immortals. Yo, that was insane. The problem is that while players may be equipped with the right tools to rank up, they don't know when to use which tool. This limits their potential, and you need a combination of many small fixes to see a massive improvement in your gameplay. And just to clarify, I don't mean to sound rude about any of the players in our custom games. All of them had great moments, but based on my experience in these games, I've identified 3 major areas you need to fix to climb the ranks. The first area you need to improve is to stop focusing only on what you want to do. In my games, it felt as if each player had a tendency to do their own plays instead of trying to play off each other. At the start of a round, players would tend to push parts of the map on their own and would rarely ask a teammate to help them do any play. If you want to rank up, then you need to stop playing the game like it's a 1v5. To fix this, you need to start taking more unfair gunfights with your teammates. There are 2 main ways to do this. The first way is by following a teammate and taking gunfights with them, and the second is by asking a teammate to peek or swing an angle with you. I noticed that many gold players lack these habits. For example, in post-plant positions, players hide in corners that don't help their teammates. They prefer spots for personal kills. The problem is that this makes your gameplay heavily reliant on needing good aim. Instead, if you're positioned to swing off a teammate, enemies might not be looking at you, giving you more time to get kills. For instance, in this post-plant position on Ascent, I chose to play on an off-angle spot atop the box A Heaven. I knew I could easily be traded out in this position, so I asked for a teammate to peek with me.
I'm holding Heaven. Can someone hold this with me?
Yeah.
Get ready, they're here. Perfect. I'm TPing out.
This simple addition meant enemies looked at my teammate instead of me, giving me more time for easy kills. Taking unfair gunfights means the enemy is at a disadvantage before aiming at you. When coordinating with your team, this involves positioning yourself so enemies are not focused on you when you peek or actively trying to find teammates to assist in a gunfight. Most times, you don't even need to communicate. Simply pay attention to which one of your teammates are taking a gunfight and try to help them, or position yourself in a way that you can swing when the enemies are looking at your teammates. The second area you need to work on is confidence. Many players lack confidence in gunfights, leading to panicked aim instead of calm precision. I observe this frequently. Despite catching me off guard, players would panic, crouch spray, and miss easy shots. Honestly, I should have died more times, but many players ruin their own aim due to lack of calmness during fights. Firstly, you need to slow down your peaks to avoid panic spraying. You should expect enemies at all times to reduce surprise encounters. Plus, exposing yourself to multiple angles forces you to flick at targets, so be aware of how many angles you are peeking. Most importantly, make sure your crosshair is prepared before peeking the next angle. Calm aim comes from actively focusing on your crosshair and how you peek angles, not just from playing. But aside from panic spraying, I also noticed that our teammates played much better with us than against us. Players often felt more confident when on our team, even if we were not carrying them. Low elo players get in their own head too easily. Never assume opponents are superior just because they're out aiming you. In ranked games, anyone can start playing poorly, so always believe you can beat someone performing better than you. Ranks aren't everything. Overestimating opponents leads to losing confidence in your own skill. skills. You can't give up so fast. You need to start trusting your skills, your own judgment, and not being afraid to make a risky play. There's a delicate balance between being confidently aggressive and overly reckless. If I were to smurf in actual gold lobbies, I would ego swing most players because I trust my skills. However, I'd avoid ego swinging if my death would cost the round. Remember, you cannot rank up without having a certain level of confidence and aggression. And if you are interested in ranking up faster, then make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and join my Discord. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. The third and most important area I saw gold players needing to improve on is learning how to make effective in-game strategies. In our games, my duo and I led the team in calling strats. When we gave clear instructions, our teammates excelled. However, when they were on the opposing team, they struggled. Many players find it hard to know what to do during matches. Even with good mechanics, their skill is limited by their understanding of ranked play. That's why it was really easy for them to get kills when they were on our team, but harder for them when they were on their own. To fix this, you need to expand the way you think about playing Valorant. Low elo players often try to in-game lead, but face challenges finding success. Calling strategies relies on two factors: knowing what type of strategies to use and understanding when to use each strategy effectively. The main problem with IGLing in ranked games is hoping that teammates will follow your instructions. How well your strategy works depends on how much your teammates want to listen. If your team doesn't communicate or follow instructions, don't get upset if your plans aren't followed. Instead, concentrate on aiming well, disciplined aggression, and practicing non-verbal coordination with your team. Now, when you do call strats, it's important to keep instructions simple. The easier your strat is to follow, the more likely people will listen, and the more complicated your strategy is, the less likely people will follow through. So let's talk about what type of strats you should use. Before coming up with a strategy, you need to consider your team composition and the enemies, along with their utility and ultimates. Also, note the enemy team's habits in attacking or defending certain sites. These factors influence your offensive and defensive strategies. Let's start with attack strategies. The core concept behind an attack strategy is to either overwhelm the defenders from your team's coordination and utility usage, or to confuse defenders by slowly taking control of different parts of the map. In lower elos, you should limit most of your attack strategies to 5-man rushes and 3-2 splits. When calling a 5-man rush, remember a few key points. Before the round begins, ask for specific ultimates such as Killjoy ults, KO ults, or Raze ults to be used. Then, inform your teammates about expected utility at the start of the round. For instance, assign someone to break a Sova dart, or remind teammates to dodge a Sky Flash. Lastly, establish the correct order of entry. Have teammates flash close angles if defenders are peeking aggressively, then use utility to clear close angles, and finally instruct duelists to enter the site once smokes are up. It's also important to understand when to call 5-man rushes. Call this strat when your team has strong ultimates to take a site, when the enemy team is on an eco round, and when your team keeps winning when they rush a site. Now, for 3-2 splits, assign the right agents to split with each other. Typically, if I call a split, I direct agents with better utility suited for site pushes, like a hard entry duelist, an initiator, and a controller to push the main choke point. Agents with less impactful utility, such as a weaker duelist or a sentinel, should push through the secondary choke point. Most importantly, when you do split push, make sure your teammates are able to push the site at the same time, or else you will lose the advantage of your split. Knowing when to call a 3-2 split is crucial. It's usually the right choice if your 5-man rushes aren't effective because the defenders are holding their site well. A split divides the defender's attention into 2 choke points, making it easier for you to take the site. 3 other attack strategies you can use are defaults, fakes, and lurks. However, in low elo, these strategies may be less effective. Often teammates become overly aggressive and die too early when doing these strats. I recommend using these riskier strategies during eco rounds and opting for safer strategies when you have good weapons. Now, in attacker post-plant situations, you should consider how many people you have alive and what utility your team has. If you have a man advantage or strong post-plant utility and ultimates, you should play in passive positions and swing off each other. But if you are down a man or there are 5 defenders still alive in the retake, you should play more aggressive and fight together for more map control. This will make it harder for the defenders to retake. Now let's discuss how to call strategies on defense. The core concept of a defensive strategy is to prevent attackers from planting the spike or to effectively retake the site in a post plant. There are 3 main approaches. The first is to ask teammates to play on specific sites, especially if they are playing well or have better utility for holding those sites. For example, if the enemy team keeps rushing one site, you should ask your sentinel player to set up there and have 2 more teammates stacked with him. You need to consider how the enemies are putting pressure on your team and think of how you can change your team's setup to counter their rushes. There are so many variables to consider, but your goal is to simply create the most resistance on the sites the attackers have the easiest time pushing. The second defensive strategy is to start coordinating aggressive plays with teammates. Ask for utility before engaging in aggressive fights on certain parts of the map. Call for a teammate to push something with you or to hold a certain angle for you. This strategy works best for gaining early advantages, especially when the enemies are defaulting often. Pushing out for fights is not entirely wrong, but it's best to do it with a teammate. I suggest you do not solo push out on defense or go for flanks very often. It's best to do it only once or twice a game. Typically, enemies start to expect your push and it becomes less effective. The best time to solo push out is when you have looked at the minimap and you know no one is near your site, or you are feeling very confident confident and believe you can out-aim the enemy. Pushing out on defense is fine some rounds, especially when you want to gather information, but usually it's risky. And the third strategy is retake strats. When in a post-plant situation, ask teammates to wait to retake together. Then instruct your controller to smoke off the main choke. Use initiator utility like a Sova drone or dart to gather information. Then utilize flashes and focus on retaking and securing trades. This approach is effective for winning rounds when you just can't hold the site. If you want to formulate better strategies, then you need to start putting yourself in the enemy team's shoes more often instead of going on autopilot or only thinking about what you want to do. At the start of the round, think how the enemies are going to play based on the previous round's events. Consider what utilities or ultimates you should expect. The better you can start predicting how the enemy will play, the better you will get at formulating effective strategies to win rounds. This will make your team both more adaptable and unpredictable. Getting out of low elo can be tough, so make sure to watch my other video where I go over 5 more tips to help you rank up. Remember to buy a shirt from my store, and I'll see you in the next one.